This podcast is brought to you by Nut One Coalition's Farm Talk podcast. They have been serving the Hopi community since 2004 by working to reaffirm and preserve traditional Hopi farming. Go to nut1coalition.org to learn more. That's NATWANI coalition.org.
Terraform Development is a Navajo and Hopi-owned engineering, architectural, and project management firm located in northern Arizona. The company has full-time staff and comprises of Navajo and Hopi employees. Terraform services include civil engineering, residential design, drone mapping, and project management on projects for your need. Terraform is a Priority 1 Navajo certified business and Hopi business license certified. Contact Terraform Development at TERRA4ORM.com and follow them on Instagram at Terraform Development.
You are now listening to the Carl and J-Man Save the World podcast. I am your host, the 5-star 5-diamond chef, J-Man, and with me is Captain Sweatpants, Larry's little brother, Carl.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Larry's little brother. Who's Larry?
There's another podcaster out there. His name's Larry. And,
I just noticed.
You're related to him.
I just noticed that last podcast, and I was like, "Who's Larry?" And it's like, man, this guy must be associating me with some cool guy.
I suppose, but from what I hear is that he's the elder of you two. You guys share a room, so I don't know why you're acting all fresh and not recognizing your relatives.
But anyway, we're back with the episode 2 here. I'm sure that you guys listened to the episode 1, and we were, glad that you guys did that. And so we're back again in the studio.
Episode 1 is exploded pretty well.
Episode 1 exploded. It was pretty cool.
That just goes to show you that sex sells.
Yeah, that's true.
Everyone enjoyed our moosey stories and discussions of how young boys grow up to become man
There
whores.
was one comment that kind of got them riled up. It was on your end, actually.
What did I say?
Where you were just kind of explaining how men are in that dominant nature, and they just kind of took it in the wrong way, I guess.
Oh, really?
And so they kind of just said that, I don't like J-Man's comment, but I understand that his comment is his comment, so his opinion.
Well, in the mind of J-Man, that my opinion is law, so...
Law. So Law and Order?
Law and Order. And so, definitely thank you all for taking that opportunity to listen to that episode and listening to our previous episodes, because we're starting off this season very well, season 6.
Yeah.
And I think that you and I are very happy to get underway with season 6. And I think that, some of the happiness that's been going on around here is that it's been raining a lot lately.
Oh, it has. I know. It's given us this great moisture around here, and it's making the roads a lot harder to get into my house. But, I don't care. I mean, as long as the rains are here, and, we made a huge deposit from the rain gods.
So I think that your loan from Hopi Credit paid off.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
then, the rain came.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I had to fill out a bunch of paperwork from Hopi Credit saying that how much credit you want to get from for the rain gods.
So I hope that they didn't give you a high interest rate. I think you said they had some sort of deal.
Oh, yeah. Deal. Interest rate was 100% plus tax, But anyway, I mean, how was your weekend? I mean, we haven't talked about our weekend getaways in such a long time.
The weekend was a few days ago. Carl has, I guess, our topic of today is going to be Hopi taboos. And one of Carl's taboos in the studio is that he hates it for when I break the fourth wall. which I don't understand because our listeners out there are intelligent.
They're out there. It gives the illusion that we are.
I'm pretty sure a lot of them know that we're pre-recorded, and so nobody.
This is not pre-recorded.
Nobody has any illusions.
Anybody out there
that Carl is waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning to do a morning show. And so, Carl, I don't know if you realize this, but a lot of us have grown up. And so we live outside of imagination land, out of pretend land.
What's so...
We look the mirror in the face day after day, recognizing that we're all getting older and decomposing and falling to decay, but yet you're still here with your green Peter Pan pants on, acting like... everybody is falling into your pretend land.
I just
still trying to pretend that you're living this morning show.
I just don't understand why you don't want to be cool like me, though. I thought I was cool. I thought I was pretty cool when I was doing that. And I mean, like, everybody wants to have the imagination. Everybody needs to have the imagination. And I like doing that.
Well, I wouldn't deny that that's true, because then you go on social media, and I think that there are a lot of people on social media pretending anyway. So
yeah, that's true. But today's topic is taboo.
Today's topic is taboo, and actually, I did want to give a shout out, and then also to correct a shout out of yours that the fellas that you gave a shout out to last week are actually Hopi.
Well, actually, they're 3/4 Navajo. So.
Okay. and the other shout out that I wanted to give out is that we do have a super fan out there that supports us a whole lot, shares a lot of our social media posts and so forth. And today's her birthday. And so I'd like to give a shout out to one of our listeners. Happy birthday to Tosh Novayastua.
All right. Well, happy birthday. Yeah, I mean, if you want your name splattered around, YouTube and whatnot, just give us a shout out.
Give us a shout out. And so happy birthday to her. But today our topic is Hopi taboos.
All right. Hopi taboos.
So what does that mean? What's a taboo?
I mean, I think taboo is where you just can't talk about, I don't know what you can't talk about. It can't do it during certain times. I'm kind of doing this on the top of my head.
Like everything else. And so I guess like taboos, I guess not really specifically referencing Hopi, but I guess this idea of taboos are things that aren't to be talked about. Things that you're not supposed to do for whatever reason. And so, I think that because a lot of us are, living in this predominantly white society, are there any white people taboos?
Oh yeah. Don't talk to a Native American.
Don't wear white after Labor Day, something like that.
I never got that. I never got, why do you not wear white after Labor Day? Why is that?
I have absolutely no idea. and so I guess those are kind of some examples. But then, I guess when you think about it, there are some taboos out there in the mainstream society, things that you're not supposed to talk about. And a lot of them can kind of be, I guess, at least from my perspective, from a Native person's perspective, a Hopi person's perspective, a person of color's perspective.
Yeah.
That in our dominant society, it's taboo to acknowledge that genocide exists in the United States of America.
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
It's taboo to acknowledge that the United States government basically stole all the land from Native peoples.
I wouldn't say it would be taboo. I would just say lack of information.
Looked down upon?
Looked down upon, yeah.
AKA taboo.
I mean, I think what you're trying to say is that taboo is something that we cannot are like rules, basically, like rules in life that we kind of have to follow by.
Rules in society. And that taboos differ from different societies. And so I guess later on in the show, when we talk specifically about Hopi taboos, that those taboos are going to relate to the places here on Hopi, are going to relate to specifically to our villages, are going to relate specifically to geographical areas within, I guess, our little Hopi universe.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to like other types of taboos, that it definitely those relate to those specific communities, their specific perspectives, their specific ideologies.
I think like how taboos work is that we've grown up with the different rules and the different kind of ideologies in our culture. So when you look at that, our culture is stated in a taboo kind of nation where the uninitiated or the
unappreciated.
No, more or less like the people that have not gained knowledge into different societies or different parts of life, I guess you could say.
Hey, just looking at your shirt, I thought of another white person's taboo.
Okay.
When a black cat crosses your path,
isn't
that supposed to be like bad luck?
Yeah, like
or opening an umbrella inside the house.
Or like
breaking a mirror, you get
or like
7 years bad luck.
Walking underneath the ladder.
Walking underneath the ladder. And so you see that door open, and now all these ideas are flooding in. And now I can...
What would you say about Hopi's taboo? I mean, like, would it say like they're kind of the same type as Bahana taboos? Like, don't break a mirror if you're looking at it? I don't know.
I think that all the corn ladies break mirrors when they look at them. So, maybe that taboo isn't really intertwined.
Yeah, they
with Hopi.
They break mirrors because nothing can be as beautiful as they are.
Yeah, I don't think so, Carl. But, I guess like thinking about taboos, because then I guess from a certain type of perspective that taboos can seem silly, right?
Yeah.
Because then like how the hell am I going to get 7 years of bad luck if I break a mirror? Or why would something bad happen to me if I walked underneath a ladder? Or, like what type of bad luck? Like why would I get bad luck if I wore white after Labor Day? And so I guess really like understanding, like I bet you there probably is some sort of historical perspective,
meaning behind it
associated with breaking mirrors, walking under ladders, opening umbrellas inside a home. And then, maybe the origins of those go way back to where we don't learn those things. And so that's why now in 2021 that it seems kind of silly to break those types of taboos.
When I was in grade school, back in the day, when I was in grade school,
back in your golden years.
Back in the golden years, my taha would say that if you ate watermelon and if you swallowed a seed, that seed will grow inside of your pono. And I was freaked out, like, oh man, I swallowed so many seeds, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna be like a watermelon.
Be like a watermelon patch in your pono.
And it scared me because, I was like, oh man, because, down there it's all moist and the watermelon seeds need moisture, and I'm going to have a watermelon. I'm going to look like I'm pregnant. And I was like, I don't want to do that. It's like, it kind of turned me off of eating watermelon at one point. And so when I read a news article that a boy had swallowed a pea and it started growing inside of his lung.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah.
No kidding?
It's like, it was a real story. And I'm like, oh my God, my worst fears have come true. and do away with everything with seeds. Just eat meat.
And I think, well, I guess even in some societies, and I think we talked about it to an extent in previous episodes, that sometimes these taboos are generated specifically for children to try to keep them from doing something that you don't want them to be doing. Because then, in relation to eating watermelon seeds, that I've heard before that if you swallow bubble gum, that you're not going to poop it out, that it's going to stay in your stomach
for 7 years.
And if you eat enough of it, then it's going to clog your stomach and you're going to have problems.
It's always like 7 years. Like everything is like 7 years.
7.
I think 7 is just like the unlucky number.
Yeah. And I guess, because, us being Hopis, that we do grow up around other cultures, that we grow up around other tribes, other different types of communities. What are some taboos from those other external communities that you've heard before?
That is a tough one because I have no idea. I mean, like just the Bahana ones that I kind of associated with like, don't break mirrors or don't walk under. But, I just kind of have that notion of like, those are kind of silly Halloween kind of things.
Let me walk you along, Carl.
Okay.
Let's do some podcast development. Think really hard. What school did you go to from, let's say, first grade to high school?
First grade. That was the Navajo school.
Okay. New group of people, Navajos.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you have Navajo friends.
Actually, no. It was all Hopis over there. So it's like, it was taboo for us to go meet the Navajos. Your plan is flawed.
My plan to get Carl to think critically went down into the hole.
But I know what you're trying to say. But but I was trying to say like our end in that sense. Like like Navajos, they believe in like the skinwalker. Or like coyote. Like if a coyote crosses in front of you, you're supposed to
or something.
You have to stop and then throw rocks at it until it kind of goes away from the distance and stuff like that. Yeah.
And so, cause like that, like both you and I grew up around Navajos.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time with Navajos, have had Navajo friends.
Yeah.
I really do think Carl probably did have a Navajo girlfriend back in the day.
We will not talk about that.
and so, you did learn from them. And then even to this day, right? Cause then like you do have, colleagues or, association affiliations with our Navajo friends. And so you see some of the things that they post during certain times of the year. And so what happens when an eclipse happens? What happens with our Navajo friends?
They can't go outside or they can't or look at their eclipse or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's you can't look at it.
Yeah, you can't
and then
look
you
at
can't
it.
eat.
Or you can't like bathe or something too.
While the eclipse is out?
Yeah, you can't dance to TikTok or something. I don't know.
And so, you kind of learn about some of the taboos that they have. And then even learning that, some of their taboos are similar to Hopi's. And like, for example, I remember I asked a Navajo friend about, I think it was when we did our cooking episode, when we did the lobster and the fry bread.
Yeah.
And then my Navajo friend responded to me when I sent him the video of the YouTube.
Yeah.
Because I thought he'd appreciate it because, he's a fine dining type of person.
Okay.
That he responded, Navajos can't eat shellfish. Or I think it's seafood in general.
Weird.
But then, I've heard that long time ago that Hopi's also had that same belief that you're not supposed to eat seafood as well. Well, really, you're not supposed to eat fish. Because then when you think about the Hiset time, the long ago, it's like what body of water around here would we be fishing at when really you just had springs and washes? And so that kind of led me into a conversation with another friend that was kind of asking, I don't understand why our own people, I guess, chastise us for not knowing some of these taboos. And then she kind of had that question about the seafood. And, this is a person that I actually talked to a lot. So I'd like to give them a shout out too. So shout out to you, Taylor, for giving me a lot of ideas for the podcast. But specifically in relating to the whole idea of not being able to eat seafood, it's that because, and I really think that that's kind of where the connection with taboos go into with our culture. It's this idea of the unknown, this idea of not really understanding certain sides of our universe. And so taboos develop from that because then it's this idea of fear, that we're fearful of the unknown. And so when you think about a long time ago, that when it came to big bodies of water like the ocean, lakes, certain rivers, that our people didn't develop this practice of deep sea diving or snorkeling or, going down to the deepest reaches of these bodies of water to really understand what's down there, to understand what's living in there. And then so these taboos arise from big bodies of water, and that equates to not being able to eat seafood because then we don't understand what that is. And even in contemporary context, that what the botanists or, the zoologists, the people that study these types of things, that they even say that a large percentage of the ocean has been unexplored.
Oh yeah, that's true. We know more about space and Mars than we do our own planet. It's kind of true. So, but before we go on, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. Guanvayama Law Firm, PLLC, based in Tempe, Arizona, is 100% Native-owned and operated. Founded by Vern Guanvayama, they offer top-notch legal services nationwide and is backed by talented attorneys from diverse backgrounds. Each service is tailored to effectively represent a specific client for a specific need. Go to vtklaw.com or call 480-428-4590.
And so I guess really defining why taboos arise, this idea of being fearful of certain things, that I think that when you think about like taboos, that I think that some of it does really relate to, I guess, how we perceive the world as Hopi people.
Oh yeah.
How we perceive the world or our universe from a Hopi context. And, I think that in this day and age, it's really difficult to really communicate that message of Hopi beliefs, of giving validity to the way that we think, to the way that we live our lives, because it does associate with things like that, with taboos or other practices that people might not understand. Because as much as we want to preach decolonization, as much as we want to preach reclamation, as much as we want to preach things like land back on social media, that when it comes to communities like Hopi and the people that are living within the Hopi reservation, that we still live our life according to taboos or certain type of spiritual beliefs, right? Yeah,
I think you are right about like living in a taboo kind of world. Is because it's all fear based. It's all where we have to make rules and we have to make understandings of what we are trying to do as Hopi people, as trying to live in the Hopi society and as trying to live in that Hopi world. Then we set these different types of rules and we create them as taboos. So like, I didn't know anything about the fish thing. I always thought that, Hisatsinom ate like fish sticks and whatnot, I always thought that. So
you thought that they were going to, what is that? Pueblo Bonita for their crab nights.
I always thought they went to the casinos and had crab night there. I never knew that.
Well, that in a lot of our oral histories, that one could argue that the concept of Indian gaming has been something that's been in your favorite word in time immemorial.
Exactly. I mean, like, it's weird to think that we live in a taboo society, but yet we just don't understand what these taboos actually come from or actually were developed or why they were developed in that way.
And so I think I asked you this question before in a previous podcast. So like when you think about your everyday life, right?
Yeah.
Are there things that you do to respect certain types of, I guess, old time practices?
Oh yeah.
Like for example, like tunapna.
Oh yeah,
is that something that you do?
We've always done that. Like, feed the spirits, feed the your wuyas first. Mm-hmm. Like all your whatever clan you are, you feed them first, and then you eat. And then there's another one too. Is like you can't whistle at night, mm-hmm. or else Masa will come to you. And
so, do you really avoid whistling at night?
I still avoid doing those types of things,
even when the pretty Snake Clan or Sun Clan girls are walking by. Yeah, you still.
I say "wit woo." I can't whistle. I just have to say "wit woo."
And so a lot of us out here on the reservation do live our lives like that.
Yeah,
that we either do continue to practice things like tunapna, which is like you said that you're, in a way, I guess it's giving thanks that you're feeding the spirits.
Yeah, feeding the spirits.
The deities.
Yeah.
Or in Hopi, you'll hear them say, the ones that you can't see. And so giving that thanks that we're able to eat.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you do things to you avoid certain things.
Yeah.
Because they're in line with Hopi taboos. And so I think that, when you think about, I guess, American Indian communities from the outside, that a lot of people, and even indigenous peoples, will talk about, I guess, things really from a context of, or a perspective, what you can see. And so you think about the good things that are preached about our communities, like the agriculture, some of the self-reliance things that we do. But a lot of the things that aren't talked about are the taboos, or how we live about our lives in a spiritual world.
Yeah.
And I guess really that was my point, that it's really difficult to talk to folks about Hopi and then to include that spiritual aspect, because when we live in a science-based society, that we only think about and give value to the things that we can see. But a big part of Hopi and how we live, how we look at the world, is what we can't see. Mm-hmm. Because Hopi, we believe that we do not walk this earth alone.
Oh, no.
That we believe that deities, spirits walk along with us, creatures even, that you won't see it at the local Phoenix Zoo or even the more extensive San Diego Zoo down in the West Coast. But as Hopis living here in the 2021, that we still have these practices of avoiding certain things because we recognize them as Hopi taboos. And so
I wouldn't say that they're like taboos in a way. I would say that they're part of culture in a way. Like, they're part of ingrained culture. So to say, I guess taboo is like you cannot do something, cannot do certain things. I think that's what a taboo is mainly named for. But, in that, I guess you're saying that, like dūnomna is not a taboo, but it's part of how Hopi life is, but it's taboo for us not to do it. Kind of get it?
No. Please explain that a little bit better for no. But I guess from that definition that you gave, what are some Hopi taboos? Things that you can't do.
Like I said before, like, you can't whistle at night. That's a taboo that we can't do. Or like you can't go outside at night or walk around at night because there are things outside that we can't see. And like what you said before, they walk around during certain hours. Mm-hmm. And so that's a taboo for us, for us to stay indoors. Or like the biggest taboo is coming up during this winter, is that you can't dig in grounds. We have to put ashes on your forehead or gum or whatever you call it. Sana.
What is the special event that you have marked on your calendar to where you can't dig and put ashes on your forehead?
Christmas time.
You can't go outside because just in case you see Santa or the reindeer.
Santa Claus, give me some ashes. Give me some ashes right away.
But those are some taboos. And, I guess really from the Hopi context, night is something that's really associated with a lot of things that you can't do. And I think that a lot of the taboos around night is very similar to the ocean concept. Is this mystery behind it, this mystery behind dark. And then even this whole philosophy between life, I guess, and how Hopis perceive and how we connect life to certain things. We connect life to the east, to the directional of the east. And then we also connect life with day when the sun's out. And then we also connect life with the warmth. So like springtime and summertime. And then the juxtaposed position to that is death, which we associate with darkness, which we associate to the direction of the west, which we associate with the cold.
Yeah.
And so it's this, I guess it's really to really understand taboos and to understand and to get past what we think the silliness of it is, really to think way, way back of those, how how the Hisatsinum lived back then and how they viewed their world, how they viewed their universe, and discussing with that when it's warm out, things grow.
Yeah.
That animals are able to be out and about because as a result of the plant life that they can eat. And then for Hopis, that's when we can plant our corn. That's when we can cultivate our fields, because without the warmth or the ability of having the warmth gives that opportunity for us to do that. And so hence warmth, daytime life.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we go to like hibernation, sort of like our culture becomes hibernated during a certain month, during like Gyamuya. Gyamuya is like our resting period.
Is that how you say Christmas in Hopi?
It's Santa Claus. Santa Claus bring the ashes over. But that's a part of how us Hopis kind of wind down and kind of go into an hibernation until it comes back when we're ready to maybe plant again or maybe to start our ceremonies again. And just like what you were saying, it brings back the life. It brings back all of these different ideas of how Hopi is in a way that we can't have just Hopi year round. We have to at least kind of let ourselves rest.
Yeah, there's always a nas. How do you say it?
Nasas lau. Yeah.
Nasas period. Nasagna period.
Nasagna period.
Nasagna period, which means that break. Take a break. Because in this idea of Hopi that nothing is ever constant, that things have to rest at some point in order to be able to recharge, to be able to go again. But thinking back on your younger years, thinking back as a child, like growing up, because I know that you're very fond of thinking back on your childhood and thinking back those good years. But what are some things that you can recall from those younger years that you recall kind of being taboos? Because, well, I guess if I can give an example first.
Okay.
I remember when my sister got pregnant, when my oldest sister got pregnant, that she gave birth to my niece.
Yeah.
And then for those of you that don't know, that there's this 20-day period that I guess it's referred to as diqatsi in the Hopi world. But basically, the woman and the baby stay in a room that's covered from the sun. So no sun is able to go into that room for 20 days.
Yeah.
And then I didn't know as a kid that when my sister was going through her diqatsi, I remember going into her room and I was looking at my niece, the little baby, and my sister was tending to her. And I remember I was just about to sit down on her bed.
Yeah.
And then as soon as my cheeks touched her bed, get up, get up, get up. And they yelled at me to get up from her bed. And so I guess that would be a Hopi taboo.
Yeah.
Is that you're not supposed to sit in a woman who just gave birth in their bed.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, is your story done?
Yeah, that's an example.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, like there's different taboos around the birth, because the reason why is because the mother and the child have to go and connect with each other during those 20-day periods for herself to rest and recover. And in that time, she does like fasting. And during those times there, she does the 20-day fasting where she cannot eat salt or she cannot eat meat. Mm-hmm. And in that time, you're not supposed to be touching the baby. You're not supposed to be, holding the baby as much. And if you do, you're supposed to wash your hands with
orange soap.
With orange, with the lava soap.
Lava soap. That's what I meant to say.
No, with what was that? The pine. Not the pine tree. What was the other one called?
The sap?
Womapi.
Womapi.
Yeah, you're supposed to wash your hands with womapi, and the reason why for that is because
you're supposed to wash your hands with the juniper branches.
Yeah, and the reason why for that is because
how does that work?
The baby is utihi, because it came from another world, I guess you could say. Mm-hmm. And in Hopi belief, that's what they say is that the baby is coming from a different place into our world. So that baby doesn't know our traditions or doesn't know our ways of life here yet. Mm-hmm. So that's why that 20 days is such a crucial period for
sacred time.
Yeah, for the mother and child.
Basima time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and take another quick break here. So get back to you in a bit. Nurturing Indigenous Intelligence is a grassroots organization based on the Hopi Reservation. They work to alleviate the hardships in the community through acts of giving, from distributing school supplies, volunteering at various places, and working to expand their services. Follow them on Instagram at Nurturing I Squared and on Facebook at NI Squared Team to find out more.
I apologize for the pause. I'm used to Carl running his stories for at least 30 minutes, so I thought that there was a lot more to that. But those are just some examples of what some of the taboos are, at least, for those that you and I know of. And I am certain that there are tons more that people like us that are growing up in this modern day that haven't heard of before. Because one of the funny things is that I told the Res famous wife is that I used to think that Navajos were the most superstitious people because they have so many taboos.
Yeah.
Like you can't throw a rock outside without committing some sort of Navajo taboo. And I didn't think that Hopis were as superstitious as that. And then when I married her, then I learned a whole lot more of taboos that exist out there within our Hopi world. And so I thought, I guess maybe Hopis aren't just as superstitious.
Just as bad as Navajos.
As Navajos. And then, so, that was kind of the funny thing. But then I guess really, because we've talked about taboos and we talked about how we live with those taboos.
Yeah.
And then taking it into contemporary times. Do we still follow some of those taboos, or are we committing a lot of taboos these day and ages? Is there some things that are taboo that you still go ahead and do?
Oh, yeah. Like what I said before, we
whistling at night.
Yeah, I mean, like, there are a lot of taboos that we still follow, especially during certain times of the month, like we said, like during Gamuya. Gamuya is like one of the biggest parts where it is like a huge taboo.
It's a huge taboo just to be alive.
Yeah. So, I mean, yes, we do. We do still follow a lot of traditional quote unquote taboos, and we just can't break them because of the consequences that we have in the afterlife.
We can't break them, but we do break them.
Oh yeah, we do.
And that was the question. The question is that, I guess, as Hopis living in modern times, that because now we don't just stay confined in our villages.
No.
Now we have jobs. Now we pursue educational opportunities. Now we pursue and seek money. Now we do a lot of things outside, not only off the reservation, but outside of the state of Arizona.
Yeah.
You got Hopis living in all four corners of the United States, probably even some international. But then, because we're living in this modern world now, that the modern world and how we live within it doesn't cater to Hopi life. It doesn't cater to our perspective. And I'll give you an example because, there are a lot of taboos in relation to pregnant women.
Yeah.
That when a woman is pregnant, that there's a lot of taboos that could be committed when one's pregnant. And for a potential father who has impregnated a woman, that one of the taboos is that you're not supposed to hunt while your wife or girlfriend is pregnant, or you're not supposed to fish, you're not supposed to harm animals. It's this idea that if you harm animals, that you're going to harm your baby.
Okay.
In the similar way that you're going to harm an animal. But I remember when my wife was pregnant with our youngest daughter.
Uh-huh.
This was when I was working in the 5-star 5-diamond restaurant.
Yeah.
When I was the 5-star 5-diamond cook. And one of my duties was to cook the lobsters.
Okay.
And when the lobsters came, they were still alive.
Uh-huh.
And so I had to boil live lobsters. And knowing this, working in that kitchen, and I think that I've said it a lot on this podcast, that working in the culinary setting is very much like Hell's Kitchen, getting yelled at every single day.
Yeah.
And because that you get put into that position to where it feels like you're in submission all the time, because then, you're at the mercy of the head chefs because, whatever it is that they want, you have to do it. And so it was my duty to boil the lobsters.
Uh-huh.
And I was so intimidated to talk to my chef and say, hey, we have this belief. I don't think I can boil the lobsters. And I didn't do it. I didn't tell him that we had this belief.
Yeah.
And while my wife was pregnant, I continued to boil the lobsters while they were alive. And I used to get afraid because then I used to think, is this going to affect my daughter somehow? Because, for a lot of us, we still believe in these things, that we still feel that they hold value. And so I continued to do it. Fortunately, my daughter was born, no problems. And up to this day, she's been fairly healthy. And so, you do worry about certain things like that, especially when it comes to like ceremony, right? Because you mentioned this concept of fasting, where you can't eat salt and you can't eat fat.
Yeah.
And especially for those of our relatives that are living in the urban areas, when they come home to participate in ceremony, maybe they're in a position where they have to napwala, which is the Hopi term for it, when you have to napwala. But for me, even working in that kitchen, when I came home and it came to napwala, it was difficult because as a cook, when I cooked something, I had to taste it.
Yeah.
I had to make sure that it was up to par. And so if you watch any of our Cooking with J-Man episodes, that a lot of those recipes have a lot of salt and it has a lot of fat, which is what you're not supposed to be eating during that time. And so living in a modern world as a cook, it was very difficult to adhere to our ceremonial rules.
You didn't when your wife was pregnant with your daughter, when you're cooking the lobsters, you didn't say that, oh, my ancestors aren't fishermen, so it's okay for me to kill this. They only ate fish sticks. That's okay. You didn't say that.
This rule doesn't apply.
This rule doesn't apply to the lobsters.
And that's a really good point. That's a really good point, because I think that we do that in this day and age, that we try to make up excuses for ourselves as to why we don't adhere to certain rules, cultural rules, ceremonial rules, or why we commit certain taboos.
Yeah.
Because I think that another taboo that's in correlation to Gyalmaya, because the other thing that you didn't mention during Gyalmaya, what you're not supposed to do is you're not supposed to bang things.
Oh, yeah.
Make a lot of noise, like banging on a drum.
Yeah.
Or bouncing a ball is something that's also considered taboo during Gyalmaya, which takes place in parts of the months of November going into December, I believe. But even then, you have people arguing on Facebook when Gyalmaya really is. But when you think about the local schools, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to sports, what sport takes place from November into December?
This argument has been noted
for time immemorial.
For time immemorial. And it has been because a lot of the villages take this type of subject because of the way that they still do a lot of the taboos, or still do a lot of the like Gyalmaya and stuff. Mm-hmm. They made it so is that I don't know how it goes now that they can't play basketball anymore during those months now. So it has to be done, all your games before Gyalmaya, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I guess
but basketball games are played during
Gyalmaya, and that argument has been brought up so many times from parents, from elders, even from kids. They're saying like, oh, I thought it was resting. Why are we bouncing a ball? Yeah,
and see, so like that's a big example of how we kind of set aside. We take off our Hopi hat, and we put it to the side, and then we're gonna put on our Pahana hat, and then we're gonna say, okay, we're gonna nasangna from being Hopis, and then we're gonna be Bahanas now. We're gonna play basketball during Gyalmaya.
During one of our sacred times here, and I don't know how that started. I think that it's because of the way that a lot of back history has always done it before. A lot of the back part of it, even our ancestors kind of delved away from the Gyalmaya,
play basketball.
They play basketball.
Pueblo Bonita while they're eating crab legs at the Hisat Casino.
But it's weird in a way because you can't just say that they were actually following the Hopi traditions. They were kind of making it up as the way that they go, and
they were developing it.
They were developing these things like that. It's like, should we cook lobster or eat fish chips, or I don't know. But I mean, like, it's weird in a way that we as Hopis have so many taboos and so many laws that we break them so many times that we think that it's okay to say it's all right. I can cross the red light here every now and then. There's no more traffic. There's no traffic going around. And it's not about just that. It's about the morals. It's about the understanding that you're given as a Hopi.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good analogy. I tip my hat to you.
All right. Well, thank you. I try.
But you can't think of any taboos that you break knowingly?
Yeah, I eat fish now. I don't know. I mean, like, I still do a lot of Hopi traditions. Yeah. I still do a lot of that. And, we still can't talk about different things on the podcast. I guess that could be taboo, kind of like.
And even one could argue that we're breaking taboo right now by just talking about a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit of our taboos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I guess that's why people call us, they call you Tsuku.
And they call you his sidekick, so.
But I guess, kind of breaking out of the Hopi taboo specifically, that I guess with the changing times, can you think of any taboos that you could argue is a modern day Hopi taboo?
Let's see. Yeah, that is a hard one.
Well, one of the things that I thought of right off the top of my head is alcohol.
Okay.
Drinking alcohol, because there are some families to where that it's taboo just to let your parents know that you're drinking.
Okay.
Because then, sometimes the parent's stance is that you're not supposed to drink.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that stems from either themselves or maybe parents that were bad alcoholics.
Yeah.
And understanding that just one drink could take them over the edge and go all the way. And so they preach to their children, not even one drink of alcohol, because then that's going to lead you onto this road of alcoholism. But then yet you look at some Pahana families, some white families that when the kids turn 21, that the parents will be drinking with their kids at restaurants or at the bars, that it's incorporated with the family dynamic. Because I remember during my college years that my friend and we tailgated with a family.
Okay.
And there were generations of members within that family, grandparents, the parents, and the children. And they were all taking Jell-O shots together.
Come on, Soul, you can do it. You only turn 90 once.
And so, like that's a complete accepting part within that family is to drink.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm not the only person that comes from a family similar to that one of my best friends, that he told me same thing, that, my family's like that too, that the older generation preaches, don't drink because you're going to end up like this. But then yet all of the younger family members drink, but then yet they try to hide it as best that they can from the older people within their family because they know that it'll upset them. And so you have a lot of the younger cousins hanging out, drinking together. But then, when the parents ask them the next day, oh, what'd you guys do last night? Oh, we just went to watch a movie. And
we just hung out, ate hot Cheetos.
Some popcorn. And
ate hot Cheetos.
We had a Yoo-hoo drinking contest. And I won. That's why I don't feel good today.
We got chocolate drunk.
But I guess, that's kind of an example of like a modern day taboo within Hopi families, some Hopi families, because then I know that that's not true for all Hopi families, because I know the dynamic of multi-generational members drinking together. And so.
But wouldn't you say that just would be considered a Hopi in a way rather than a taboo?
Well, you just said, isn't a taboo something that you're not supposed to do?
I don't know. But like what I was saying is like not supposed to do in like in the culture sense. I think that's what a taboo is. I don't know. We should look up what a taboo. What does a taboo really define as?
Well, I think that because a family can develop its own culture, because not every family is the same. Like for example, that when we talked about Dunapna, that I know that some families have a special pottery bowl or something that
Yeah.
they place their tuna in.
Yeah.
But then within my family dynamic growing up is that we never had a bowl.
Really?
That you just put the food off to the side.
Why?
Or even in my father was saying that a long time ago, they used to put it on the floor or on the ground.
So your cat can go eat it?
So there was no special tsakapta for tuna.
So your cat can go and lick it off the ground?
I don't think they had cats back then, Carl.
So the definition for taboo is a social or religious custom prohibiting or forbidding discussion of a particular practice or forbidding association with a particular person, place, or thing.
Mm-hmm. And so social. And so, that a family can develop its own social taboos.
So like going back to the drinking, that would be considered taboo, but yet considered kahopi in a way. So would you say kahopi is taboo?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I think we made a breakthrough.
Carl made a breakthrough.
Hold on. All right. Yeah.
So my project to get you to critically think was not a failure. In fact, it was a success. I think I deserve a clap for that, Carl.
No, you don't.
But then, it really is interesting, though, because then, thinking about taboos, I guess, like we were saying at the very beginning, that oftentimes it seems silly, but it's not until you really learn about certain things, learning about the historical context behind it, the cultural context behind it, as to reasons as why some of these things exist. And so even the things at the beginning that we thought were silly, the ladders, the mirrors, that all of those probably have some sort of history behind it from some sort of culture.
And I believe that Hopi is no different from any other culture out there developing their own taboos and their ways, is because that Hopi is such a unique religion that it is very hard to understand with all of these different types of taboos. And when you do finally understand that, then the taboos have a different meaning within those, in the meaning itself of the taboos. So it is a very complex kind of subject in Hopi religion.
It is a very complex subject. And I think that was what I was trying to get behind in my little rant at the beginning of the episode, in the difficulties of communicating our belief system.
Yeah.
Because then, what I wanted to say in thinking about it before we started recording is that you have individuals out there that call themselves Hopi, but don't believe in the Hopi religion.
Yeah.
That you have individuals out there that call themselves Hopi, but might necessarily believe in the Hopi taboos.
Yeah.
And so they break them constantly. And so, but yet you do have individuals that are Hopi that still believe in these types of taboos that they could really bring harm to you.
Yeah.
That if you commit them, that you still have Hopis that still believe in our religion. And I say religion exemplifying that because I've heard before through American Indian studies individuals, indigenous studies individuals, that they try to discount that Native people have a religion, but rather try to use this term spirituality instead. And just like you, when you looked up your definition of what a taboo means, I did the same thing with a religion, trying to look up what the dictionary term for what religion means. And religion means that you have some sort of belief in a god or gods.
Yeah.
And Hopis, we have a belief in a god or gods. And so, in fact, Hopi does have a religion. But then, even that religion is a Pahana word. Mm-hmm. But to use a Hopi word, I'm not entirely sure what the exact accurate word or term would be for Hopis and how we perceive our religion, how we go about living our religion. But, and so I think that in contemporary times, that's kind of a real difficult thing, is to convey those things because, and we've talked about this a lot to a huge extent, that unfortunately due to assimilation, that due to colonization, that there are a lot of people out there that don't fully understand their own tribe's history.
Yeah.
That they don't understand their own people's heritage religion or heritage culture. And so they try to develop a narrative about what their belief sets are, but oftentimes, a lot of times that it's inaccurate because they don't have that foundation, I guess.
So I think what you were trying to find was that Hopi's religion is actually called the way of life. Mm-hmm. That's how we define ourselves as Hopi, is that Hopi is based upon how they view life in a way where it's simplified, where you have your soya, you have your seeds, and then, you try to live in day by day as much as you can with the religion that you have brought with you, like all of the real Hopi religion, like Soyalang, like Wutim, all of these different things like that. That defines how Hopi is in a way, and that's how Hopi life is in their mind. It's not a religion; it's the way of life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I just thought of another Hopi taboo.
What?
Don't get caught drinking all the water under the corn plant when you're a little boy, or else the hell will come whip your ass.
That wasn't a taboo. That was fight for survival. It was hot, okay? It was hot. It was hot outside, and that wouldn't let us have a lot of water, and I was feeling parched.
But I guess, more conversation could be made around this, but I guess we're coming up to an end. And so we definitely like to thank you all for listening to this episode, and certainly hope that you will continue to follow us throughout season 6, that Carl and I have had some meetings with individuals.
Yeah.
And so potentially you might see us in other places. And speaking of other places, reminding you all that we are featured on KTNN. And so we've had a good time working with the fellas there and being broadcast all over throughout the Navajo Nation. But hopefully, pretty soon with some of these discussions and outside of the podcast, will be broadcast all over our own reservation.
Exactly. And before we go, we would like to introduce you to our newest person that's on board right now, which is Guayasnim Stacy Onse. So, she is our social media person. She'll be taking over all of our stuff because I don't like to do that. So
J-Man needed a break from the social media, so we'd like to welcome Stacy to the team. We are expanding, and so big shout out to our 30-pack sponsors, to our season sponsors that you all have helped make this possible, and for all of the folks out there that have bought shirts or any type of stickers, merchandise from us, big thank you that we are expanding. And it's crazy to see how two greasy Hopi guys just started bullshitting about growing up res, and then all of a sudden, we're hiring people.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thank you for listening to Carl and J-Man. If you would like to sponsor us, go to anchor.fm/CJ Podcast 85 to become a monthly sponsor. It's only $4.99 or $9.99 a month, and you get a good shout out and whatnot. But we are looking into different options with that as well too. So look out for that. If you are a sponsor on there, we will try to contact you the best way we can.
If you are a 30-pack sponsor, please reach out to us.
Yeah.
Because we could potentially have some great opportunities.
Yeah, some great opportunities for you. Or if you just want to donate $1 or more, go to buymeacoffee.com/CJ Podcast to donate $1 or more.
Mm-hmm. And if you're not following us on our social medias, please give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter at Carl and J-Man. If you're already following us on Twitter, the good news with us bringing Stacy on board is that our Twitter account is actually going to be active. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe, and if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, give us that 5-star review.
All right. Well, thank you again for listening to Carl and J-Man Save the World podcast. My name is Carl, and this is my best friend, J-Man.
So long.